everyone!
Hello, welcome to the episode 2 of
Not your typical couple in New York. Hi! Today we would like to talk about actually, it's something that one of our viewers, brought up from watching our first episode, where I actually talked about how I have a coach, and through a coaching conversation, I discovered that hey, let's make some videos because that's actually something I've wanted to do for a long time, and my coach supported me and encouraged me. And one of the viewers who saw that and then asked if we could share more about that. And also, it's very interesting because coaching is also what brought us together.
Yeah.
I'm actually very curious to hear what you have to say about how coaching brought us together, because I don't think I've ever, heard
my
the
version?
story. Yeah, the story from your side. So why don't we begin from what coaching is? So coaching, I think it's such a big topic.
Yeah.
When I was studying at Columbia for my master's degree, I learned that coaching can, it comes in so many different forms. A lot of people perhaps already know, in terms of like sports, there's a sports coach.
Coach Belichick.
Yeah, and also, life coach,
Life
people
coach.
who will be there and help you, through asking questions and talking about different difficulties or conundrum that you might face in your life. So those are the life coaches, and we also have executive coaches who are typically their clients are most likely from the corporate world, or even startup founders. And I personally know someone who's a speech coach who coaches a lot of founders when they're doing their pitch. So there's a lot of niche sort of area for any coaches to pick. And I got interested in this field because, as I mentioned before, when I was studying, I actually took a class in executive coaching, and it's in that class there's a lot of actual coaching practices where we connect with another student in the class, and we actually coach them throughout the semester. So that is that's probably one of my favorite classes. So I never even thought about having my own coach until I took that class. And then I sort of have that inkling inside of me and thinking, wow, maybe, I could become a coach. But then again, like, I never thought about having a coach of my own, because I thought, well, if I want to be a coach, I better just study and get some sort of certification. And then become coach myself. But I guess it's up until, after I graduate, and then I started working. And Lincoln probably knows this better. And I, every day, like, I talk to him extensively about all these kind of, moments where I felt
very stressed,
and sometimes even emotional, even, at work or even outside of work, and different, life in general. And I don't know if that has any sort of bearings on you or influences on you when I was kind of just telling you everything and, emotionally.
Actually, no. I know because you went to school and you start your current job. It's actually is a career change. So there will be surely many new problems you have to solve every day. So it's normal. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm actually glad you said that, because at the time I actually thought, it might not be fair for him to shoulder all of that, or become a machine to just process my emotions or my feelings, even though sometimes I feel like, well, if you're in a couple, or like if you're in a relationship, that's something that certainly would come into play, like that's something to be expected. But still, I feel that a lot of times I wanted to just process on my own. And then I thought, well, why don't I talk to someone who's a professional, and then I wouldn't feel as guilty
Yeah.
as I felt when I just dishing out everything onto you.
Yeah.
So my
Or like ask a professional career coach in your field not only help you to solve the problem and not to help you to for your emotions but help you to solve the problem. But for me I can only like help you to feel better, but I cannot offer professional advice on your like careers.
Yeah. So I guess I think you actually brought up an interesting point. So if you want someone to help you kind of process your emotions, a lot of people would naturally um, people are familiar with therapists and going to
Therapist, yeah.
therapists. That's what therapists do. But when it comes to like actual career um, conundrums or problems, I think a lot of people are accustomed to reaching out to mentors or finding their mentors in workplace. So when I was studying, there's this we actually talked about the distinction between mentors and coaches, consultants, and therapists. So I guess to risk being super generic and in generalization, I think most likely a therapist will tend to look at your past and see trying to see what happened in your childhood that might influence or factor into what you're experiencing right now. And for coaches, they are most likely future forward looking, where they will acknowledge your pain, your emotions at the moment, but they most likely wanted to say, okay, so knowing that, what are you gonna do next in order for you to achieve your goal? So coaching can be goal oriented. I didn't want to say like it's like that. It's not black and white, right? So one of the types of coaches, they might for example, career coaches, they will set a goal for you, and then in order for you to get to that, and they will look at where you are right now, where's your goal is, and what is the gap.
Or you can tell, bless you, it's now to the coronavirus. Or you can tell the difference between the like life coach or therapist between with the career coach is you have to identify the source of your problem. Is if the problem is because of your like life experience, then you might want to see a therapist. But if the problems come from work, even though the therapist can help you to feel better, but if you cannot solve the problem, it will still bothers you. But a career coach can help you to solve the problem and feel better.
I mean, yes and
No.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it totally depends on what type of coaches that you go to. Sometimes, like even going to therapist while having a coach is not a bad choice.
Yeah,
But
of
again,
course.
like
But
it's not
the
everyone
investment
can
is
do
higher.
that. Exactly. So for me to share a bit of my personal experience, I first had a therapist for a couple months, I think,
Yeah.
when I felt the most emotional at the time and super stressed, and I did have a therapist. But the reason why I left the therapist, not because I didn't like her or there's major concerns or issues, it just at that point I realized maybe it's not just me having a lot of stress or
Come from work.
come from outside world, and
Yeah.
I need someone who have been there, done that, to lead the way for me, or to help me find my inner voice more. So I definitely appreciate my therapist's effort and the experience that I had. But then I made a decision to try coaching. So I met my coach at a conference. At the time, she was one of the panelists and presenting, and then I just really resonated with everything that she shared. And then I reached out to her afterwards, and we actually became friends. And then she actually offered. She asked me like if you want to be coached. I was like, of course. So that was like my little fangirl moment.
Lucky
but
girl.
but I definitely felt that it's almost like picking the person to spend your life with. It takes some work to actually find the right person to be your coach. So my coach is someone who's had a similar work experience, who's coached people in corporate world, who's actually done a substantial amount of academic work in coaching as well. Like she's gone through the Columbia coaching program. Not to say that every coach has to do that, but the fact that we share that common sort of background makes me feel they're
connected.
Exactly, connected, and there's a lot of we don't have a lot of communication barriers. Yeah. So even in terms of me doing this video right now, I think it's a result of my coaching conversation. This happened this week. So I was talking to my coach. Actually, I first talked to Lincoln about, oh my gosh, we have so much time on our hands right now, and I'm naturally a creative person. I want to have that creative outlet. And then I talked to my coach, and naturally, she asked me a lot of questions involving the barriers that you're facing. Why can't you just start doing that now? And then she, through questioning and me answering, a very organic conversation we had, she was able to lead me to a place where I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, doing videos is actually a manifestation of my core values. So one of the important work from coaching or in coaching is to find your values. So my top 3 values, I don't know if you still remember, I think I told you before.
Growth,
yes. Connectedness. Yeah, connection works. And the third one is, what are we? We are partnership. Yes, partnership. So yes, my top 3 values are growth, partnership, and connectedness. And my coach helped me realize that, making a video definitely is a way to make connection with our friends and families and between ourselves. Partnership, I invited Lincoln to be
glad to be here
on the every episodes with me, and he actually brought a lot of good ideas, and he's such a good conversation partner. And growth, definitely through this, even though we've only made 1 video, I already learned a lot. I wonder if you learned anything. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah. What is your biggest learning so far? I'm just curious.
Biggest learning? Output is important, because you saw that I read a lot, but before I didn't like to write, I didn't like to talk. It's mainly
you like writing, you just haven't had time.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so definitely having something tangible in the end to
help me clear my mind.
Yeah, so definitely that's one of the things or breakthroughs that I had in my coaching, and there's a lot of moments like that. I think we can probably share that going on, because I do feel like these videos are kind of our journal.
Video
journal in a way, because we're both very reflective people, and my coaching is also my personal reflective journey. So me opening up and sharing, or us opening up and sharing our reflections, is definitely something that meant a lot for us. Yeah. Now lastly, I would like Lincoln to talk about how coaching brought us together.
Okay. At first, I attend a salon, which Effie is a speaker talking about her background in group psychologies. So I was very interested, and she mentioned that she has experience and interest in coaching. And I know that in New York City there are many Chinese professionals, especially in the financial business. They don't know how to break their career ceilings. So they need career coach or mentors. So I talked to Effie about these ideas, because I know she's an expertise in that, and I know there's huge demand. So I want to know if there are any opportunities to bring two groups together to explore the business opportunities. So I become the first like coachee
or client number
clients,
zero.
yeah, client number zero of FE, and that's how
Yeah.
we get together.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting how you know came up to me with almost like a business proposal, but that
Yeah.
definitely what got me interested as well. Like I mentioned, I used to really want to become a I mean I still do. I just I'm still figuring it out and still learning in the process. But Lincoln reaching out, and I felt, well, why don't we have sort of a mock coaching
Coaching, yeah.
session? I even had him fill out a coaching intake form, which
Took me 2 hours.
That's a lot of questions, and yeah, he took it very seriously. So our first date
Yeah.
was in fact a coaching conversation, but it quickly turned into a more sort of
Yeah.
a date.
A date.
But yeah, I think that's something that looking back, and I just feel really grateful that it's something that brought us together.
Yeah.
Definitely make me feel like this he's a person who values reflections and who wants to explore themselves and learn more about themselves. Yeah, and that's very important to me. So cool. I think today we talked a lot. I don't know
Yeah.
if you have anything else that you want to share in terms of a coaching.
It's good investment.
It's
Yeah.
good investment. Yeah, definitely a lot of people are probably, either worried or just curious about pricing. I would say definitely reach out to, different coaches, or even reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I mean, it's very, I think it's a very case by case
Yeah.
situation. There's definitely like published information you can find in terms of tiers of pricing.
Yeah.
But I would say don't let that stop you, and reach out and ask around, and maybe there's opportunities. And for example, a coach wannabe or a coach in learning person like me who might be willing to offer low price, or even free consult or first consultation, and to explore any opportunities. So yeah, definitely don't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
We'll see you in our next episode.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.